Okay, this is the logo that Alyssa chose to emulate. However, it works better for the lion than it does for the cat. So if you're looking at the lion, these squiggly lines are basically the mane of the cat. I mean of the lion. But when you come over here to her cat, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't really feel like the hair or fur of the cat. It almost feels like a stinky cat, like the cat might be smelly. And then when you're creating logos, every single line and shape has to be beautiful in and of itself. So when you're looking at these and the way that there's not even spacing between them, and then just that they're not smooth curves, these additional components didn't really work that well. And that's another thing, that when you're looking at logos, less is more. So sometimes if you add stuff, it works better to take it away and then see if it really did add anything. In this case, it really didn't. This, oh my goodness, excuse me, this actually looks better without those squiggly lines than with them. But it still just felt like it was lacking a little something. So to address that, I changed a few things. So for one, I actually just copied and pasted the eyes and made them the holes of the ears. And then also too, the curve of the eyes are nicer on this side and this side than they are here and here. And so I just copied and pasted the better shape, duplicated and flipped it. I'm going to shut this door because the band is playing. Okay, so I made those changes, and then I moved these over just a tad bit just to center them, and then had this piece centered here. So you can see those changes here. So see, the curve of the eye is the same here and here. I've duplicated and flipped it. I'm going to shut this door because the band is playing. Okay, so I made those changes, and then I moved these over just a tad bit just to center them, and then had this piece centered here. So you can see those changes here. So see, the curve of the eye is the same here and here. I've added these pieces of the ear in here, and then just kind of balance this out, made it a little bit more symmetrical. Okay, so that's just basically minor edits to her original. But then just to add a little bit more pizzazz, I went in and applied the calligraphic pen to the strokes. And so you just go to your brush libraries, down here at the bottom, artistic, calligraphic. And that's the only application of what's happening here. But I did leave the whiskers as is, because that's more of a nice contrast between the thicker calligraphic pen and the whiskers, which are super thin on a cat anyway. But then I still wasn't really happy with that, and so I went and, instead of doing the calligraphic brush to add a little bit more, I tried the charcoal feather at a 1.25 stroke. But then in doing that, I didn't like what was happening in this area. This is just a little too heavy. So instead of doing a 1.25 stroke, I changed it to a 0.75 stroke. And of course, when you're selecting this here, and you just, well, it can't be grouped. Ungroup. If you select, and you can see here, it's a 1.25 stroke, and here's where I chose the charcoal feather brush stroke. Okay, so anyway, so I made that change here, which I was like, yes, that looks better, especially in this area. But I kind of still liked the weight of this one a little bit more. Felt this one was still a little bit too light. So as the final solution, what I did was I actually left the weight of the outside edge of the cat, and then just use the lighter weight for the facial features. Right, so then we have more contrast of those weights because we have the heavier weight for the ears and the face, and then the lighter weight for the eyes and the nose, and then even a lighter weight and even a different style of the whiskers, which gives, again, more contrast of the different types of lines. Now, granted, the goal was to emulate the logo, and she did do 3, and of the 3, that one was the most successful, although it just still wasn't where it needed to be. And so what I did was interesting. What I did was just make those changes to what she had, what she was working with, because the whole point of doing these is to basically get a logo that you're happy with as an end product. So even though this wasn't a shape-based logo specifically as far as emulating the shape one or emulating the line-based one or emulating the combo, we did end up with a product that is acceptable, and that is our whole goal. Okay, so to get the ratio between the size of your graphic and your type correct, you'll need to find a logo from Logo Pond to download so that you can just get the scale right. It doesn't really matter. You're not copying anything. It's like I said, it's just the size of the graphic in relationship to the size of the type. And you need to make sure that you find a graphic that is similar in weight to yours and also similar in shape. So probably the easiest way to do that, and it also needs to have the name of your company and then also the type of company. So obviously here being Fresh Cook is the name of the company and it is a culinary school. So probably the easiest way to find something that is closest to yours is to just go to Logo Pond and then do a search. So I'm using Robin's as an example. So she did a bird, so I would type in bird, hit enter, and then all of the bird logos will come up. And then I have to find one that is centered. So you want the logo, the graphic, and oh, that's neat. That's actually a bird, but you can see in the bird is a lion and it's called Lion Bird. That's really cool. Anyway, so, but this one isn't too similar to what she has, but the one below it actually is, even though this one, hers is line based and this one has color. So that's what I was talking about when I'm saying the visual weight needs to be the same. So we might make a slight modification in scale because this one has these color shapes in it. But for the most part, this one would work. So just click on the logo so that you get the bigger version of it and then just drag that into Illustrator. So, oops, let's see. And so if I just click on that and drag it, drop it into Illustrator, then there we have it. And then you are simply going to take your graphic, so here's her bird, and I am scaling it to the size of this bird. Now of course that's bigger, and so I can do one of two things. I can either scale this up, which I think I'll do. Oh, it's hard to do this. Okay. So just make this a little bit larger. All right, and then of course I need to bring that to the front. Object arrange, bring to front, and put this over top of the bird. And so there you can see that that's approximately the same size as the bird that's there. It could be a little bit bigger. We'll see. So I'll scale it up a tad bit. That's about the size of the bird though, because this one, the hummingbird, the wings are expanded, and on Robin's, the wings are down. So that's probably about the right size. And then you take your type and you do the same thing. You just put the type over top of the type that's there. Obviously it's behind it. Object, arrange, bring to front. I'll zoom in here so you can see it better. And you can see that right now that type is way too big. So just highlight your type and then just go to your type palette and reduce the size of the type down until it is the same size as the one that's underneath it. So that looks to be about the right size. Sometimes you can tell better if you actually just put it beside it, and it's good to like pick a similar letter form, like looking at the R and the B, right? And basically has, but the one below it actually is, even though this, see. And so if I just click on that and drag it, drop it into Illustrator, then there we have it. And then you are simply going to take your graphic, so here's her bird, and I am scaling it to the size of this bird. Now of course that's bigger, and so I can do one of two things. I can either scale this up, which I think I'll do. Oh, it's hard to do this. Okay. So just make this a little bit larger. All right, and then of course I need to bring that to the front, object arrange, bring to front, and put this over top of the bird. And so there you can see that that's approximately the same size as the bird that's there. It could be a little bit bigger. We'll see. So I'll scale it up a tad bit. That's about the size of the bird though, because this one, the hummingbird, the wings are expanded, and on robins, the wings are down. So that's probably about the right size. And then you take your type and you do the same thing. You just put the type over top of the type that's there. Obviously it's behind it. On object, arrange, bring to front. I'll zoom in here so you can see it better. And you can see that right now that type is way too big. So just highlight your type and then just go to your type palette and reduce the size of the type down until it is the same size as the one that's underneath it. So that looks to be about the right size. Sometimes you can tell better if you actually just put it beside it, and it's good to like pick a similar letter form, like looking at the R and the B, right? And basically you just want those X heights to be the same. So that's almost perfect. So I'll put that over top of it. Okay, like so. And then you can see wedding planner is way bigger than scrapbooking. So now we're going to highlight the wedding planner and we're going to reduce the size of that type to get down to the size. That's about that size, but then I have to address the leading because it's way too far away. And you just line that up to where it's overlapping. And so now when I move this out of the way, you can see that you have the scale ratio between the size of your graphic and your type, both the company name and the byline, scaled proportionally so that the graphic's not too big in relationship to the type and vice versa. And so once you have finalized your vectors, which I still don't have, like you're supposed to be giving me your 3 vectors and then I choose the strongest one and then you tweak that one, and then I tell you, give you the okay on your final vector, and then you take that one final vector and do it with the 12 different type options.
Hi everybody. I wanted to kind of go over the directions with you about spray mounting your playing cards onto illustration board. So with that being said, it's supposed to look something like this when it's finished. It's a little odd the way can't get it to look straight, but anyway, this is what it's going to look like in the end, roughly. I've put those dimensions on Moodle for you so that those measurements to know how much on each side you should have for these. So what I want to do is just kind of go over it and explain it to you. So what you need to do is you need to go ahead and print out your playing cards, and then with an X-Acto knife, which is this, an X-Acto knife, let me take that off. I want you to cut out those characters, those cards. And the reason why we use an X-Acto knife is because it's more reliable than a pair of scissors, because you can hold it more steady than you can a pair of scissors. So I want you to cut those out, and when you cut them out, go ahead and get your illustration board out. Should be blank, should be black. Make sure there's no marks all over it. Make sure there's no dog ears on the side. And what I mean by dog ears is it's kind of turned up a little bit. Make sure that's not there. Although mine does have some. I'm sorry about that. So make sure you do that. And so go ahead and use the measurements that I've given you on Moodle, which is from the side is 3 inches. This side and this side is 3 inches. From the top, it's 5 inches. From the bottom is 5 inches. And from the side here at the bottom is 6 inches on the left and the right. So again, that's 3, 3, 5, 5, 6, 6. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put your marks on the board first when you find those places, so that you'll be ready after you spray your cards, because that spray mount dries really fast. Do not use rubber cement. Do not use regular Elmer's glue. You need to use spray mount. That's imperative. So once you've put your little tick marks up here where it needs to go, spray mount your cards and place them up here, and then come back and erase any kind of extra graphite left on the illustration board. And this is your presentation. This is what you'll do. So once you do that, make sure you take a picture of it, and take a nice picture of it. That means just lay it down flat, take your camera, stand over it, make sure it's clear, make sure it's clean. If it's not clear, I'm taking points off and it's like it doesn't even exist. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's clear. Just take a picture of it, send it to me. Submit it with your submission. Submit it with your digital submission and your original characters. So that's how you do the illustration board portion of this project. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, if you want to know where to get this, you can get it from Michael's. If you haven't, if the bookstore for some odd, weird reason doesn't have any illustration board, you can get some from Michael's. But I don't think they have 15 by 20. What you'll need to do is go to the framing department of Michael's and get them to cut it for you. Cut it to make sure they have it straight. Not like me and the jagged edges that I made when I was trying to cut this off just so I could show you. Make sure they cut it. But you should probably be able to get it from the bookstore on campus. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So you have all of the necessary information to be able to submit your projects online, your final project online. So that is the digital portion of this, which is the same thing as that, same size. It's 15 by 20. And it's a template, and it's already set up for you. And it has the template layer. You go ahead and just put your cards, you place your cards into that template, and then you just hide the template layer and show your cards, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Save it, send it to me. Send me the original images that you worked from when you were creating your character, and then send me the picture of the illustration board where you mounted it, where you spray mounted it and put it on here. So just take a picture of it, send it to me along with that. And I think that that's it. It's been awesome having you guys, and I'm kind of sad. I always get a little sad at the end of the semester, but I'm excited for it to be over with, and I'm sure all of you are as well. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know, and we'll take care of it. So, all right, see you later.